Convention centers, much like this one, welcome thousands of delegates through their doors every day. But how do we keep those same delegates safe and secure? Well, we're about to find out with the help of a master meeting planner who's agreed to meet me here. So if you're just joining us for the first time, this is a web series devoted to meeting planners. And of course, we pull it all together with the help of some wonderful and masterful meeting planners from across the country. And joining me today is one of those masters of meeting planning, and that is Heather Reid, who is the founder and CEO of Planner Protect. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
It's a delight to have you here.
Thanks for asking.
We hear such wonderful things about you.
Uh-oh.
So I think you're the lady to hit on a lot of things that we want to talk about today. And one of the things, we introduced the show talking about the thousands of people that walk through the convention doors every year. And in fact, I mean, there's some 7 million delegates that represent 28,000 meetings across this country every year.
Yeah.
And it's always top of mind, I think, for meeting planners to think about how we keep them safe and secure. We have to worry about, are they going to get to the events because of a snowstorm on the East Coast or maybe a potential threat on the West Coast? So as a meeting planner, talk a little bit about the worry of that, and of course, how do you get your head around it and how do you work around it?
Wow. As a meeting planner, I think we live in contingency planning. So we live with Plan A, which is the ideal. We live in Plan B, and we live in Plan C. And if you're in vicinities with issues, weather-related issues, or earth-related, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods,
Sure.
that sort of thing,
Yeah.
certainly you have to be far more mindful. I think one of our most important responsibilities is the safety of our delegates, and that is coming on board with the venues and making sure that we know exactly how they are trained to evacuate the building. We also have to be mindful of even the transportation of delegates getting to an event, and what the factors are that might play into our specific event. So it's so huge what could impact an event, but truly I think I always looked at it as site specific. So if I'm on the West Coast, what could happen? If I'm on the East Coast of Canada, what could happen?
Of course, yeah.
And then being very mindful that I had plans in place for communication. So not only with delegates, but with my clients. As an independent planner, I was always aware of we always had an emergency response document. So who was the spokesperson for the association? What was the hierarchy in the building for communicating and so it's a really, I believe, a very fundamental part of our jobs to be really well prepared, because I think delegates look at you and your client looks at you as the meeting planner to really hold it together, and the only way we can hold it together is by really knowing what we're going to do.
So how long have you been in the industry?
25 almost years.
Okay, so that's a landmark period of time to be in the industry. So how have you seen it evolve in terms of safety, in terms of weather threats in that last 25 years?
My experience, I've been very blessed. I've worked Canadian-wide, but I've not done international work. So
Right.
I think we're very, very fortunate here in Canada not
We
to
sure
have
are.
a lot of,
Yeah.
either weather-related or geographic-related or even the terrorism type of thing. But there's always incidents that bomb scares or flooding, that sort of thing. I think we've upped our level of sophistication in our industry, but I think we still have a ways to go to really be prepared for the worst case scenario. Sometimes I think we have our head in the sand a little bit about having plans in place. I was at a session not that long ago that talked about emergency preparedness, and a lot of groups in the room did not have any sort of emergency preparedness document for their event.
Wow.
And I think we've got some work to do.
Yeah, we sure do. Well, we're not done with you yet. We're going to take a quick breakout session. We're talking to some peers in your industry who have answered one such question about the safety and security of delegates and how they may respond as a delegate themselves. So take a look.
You have the opportunity to do a conference in a really tropical spot,
Right.
but in the weeks leading up to it, there's a threat of an earthquake. Do you still go?
So if you were talking some little Caribbean island or some place where there's going to be a volcano, I would probably hold off. Whereas if you went to a major area like California and there was going to be a natural disaster, first of all, like I say, it's a big if. And if it did happen, they're prepared, their infrastructure's built. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And why?
There's always the threat of something. You can't live your life avoiding every threat.
If it was somewhere I really wanted to go, I probably would go anyway, yeah.
I think so. It depends on your preferences, right? If there's a place that you really want to go to, I think you will go to it. Again, it depends how severe the threat is as well. But if it's a small weather warning, I think you do it.
Because the destination's the highlight of the conference, but also what you can do beyond the venue. I think if you plan it correctly, then you would definitely have the opportunity to go to do that conference.
So we're back. There's the question, and I'll ask the same of you. If you were invited to some really wonderful place, maybe you've always wanted to go there, but there was a threat of an earthquake in the weeks leading up to the event, would you as a delegate attend?
That's a very interesting question. I tend to be risk adverse.
Okay.
So I think I would hesitate. However, I probably would look to the group that I was going to be with to see how they are prepared to handle the situation. So if they're a good communicator, if they've got themselves in order, I would feel more reassured. If there was a lack of communication and a lack of reassurance, I'm not sure I'd want to go to be in that event at that time.
Right, and I think the position you're in too, it lends to risk assessment.
It does.
So, and speaking of which, I mean, one of your specialties is venue contract negotiation.
It is.
How do you protect yourself and the clients from these potential weather issues or whatever when you're going into a planning?
I wish I could wave my magic wand and prevent them, but you can't. But what you can do is set yourself up to be relieved of financial burden should something happen. So in a contract negotiation, the clause is called force majeure, or sometimes it's called termination. Sometimes it's called excuse of performance. There's all sorts of names for it. But the premise is that if something were to happen that caused you couldn't control and it caused you harm in way of a natural disaster, a weather-related terrorism, the closing down of a major transportation hub into your center, that you are relieved of your financial obligations. So I try and teach planners to really know and be aware, where am I having my event, what could happen around the vicinity of the event, and then what do I need to put into a contract that will protect and I'm on the planner side, so I'm always on the client side, the event host side. What can we do to prevent that from causing a financial burden that doesn't need to be there? Quite often, contracts from a venue will come that they've protected themselves against a force majeure event.
Yes.
But it's our responsibility as planners to make sure that there's the same language to protect us. So.
And taking this one step further, I mean, one of the risks when we talk about risks to the meetings industry are the budgetary restrictions.
Absolutely.
So give us your tips, and I know part of your specialty is venue contract negotiation. Give the future meeting planners and the meeting planners of today some tips on how to deal with that.
You're singing my song. I wish I had paid you to ask me that question, because there's a concept that is not well known here in Canada called profit replacement. And it's a philosophical approach to negotiation that is commonplace in the United States and elsewhere. But here in Canada, for some reason, we don't seem to use it as a negotiation strategy. And it's all about saving the event host money when we are underperforming or we're in the position of having to cancel an event. And so that's the number one thing I would say for any event planner is, if you don't know about profit replacement as a strategy, you need to do some homework. I would also say that you desperately need to know the industry standards for profit margins from venues so that you negotiate wisely with your properties. We're being asked to do so much more with so much less. And every time that we can save our client or our employer money, we look like rock stars and really validate why we are the professional planner that we are. And that comes down to knowing how to negotiate and what to negotiate. So.
Awesome. Well, what wonderful insights for the future meeting planners and those of today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for you at home, you can subscribe and share. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see on the next episode. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.